Hi everyone, this is Dr. Alana, and this is the last of the 15-minute research boosts for the fall, where I am going over the stages of my process getting ready to write research. Today's conversation is an interesting one because you sometimes go forward in research and you think you know where you're going and you're going to do something, and then new ideas come in. It takes longer than you think and it changes. So that's the story of today's work. So we're going to think again. We're going to finalize some ideas about for the readership, drilling into the argument, which I have some early outcomes of where I think this is going. And then there'll be some questions on wooclap.com, as well as the discussion of what's coming up next with PD education. So let's think ahead. I wanted to give you a couple of links. They're in the handouts from two places. TCU is one of them, and another online college, both of which had excellent lists of open access journals. So the first conversation that I had with myself as I was looking into the publications that I had decided last week were the top publications, this question about whether or not to publish open access became kind of paramount in the process. So I've given you a couple of resources where you can go check out what is happening in open access in your part of the academic world. This led me into some critical thinking about publishing and the agenda that it has and the agenda that I have for it. So obviously we go to the work to publish our research because we enjoy doing it, yes, but also because we want it to advance our career or our idea. So the questions I was asking myself when I was looking at these publications, I came across one where it was a special volume, but everything in it I wanted to download, and I would have been delighted if my research would have been included in that volume. So is there a publication that has that kind of play for you? If so, that's the place you want to publish, because your work will fit there. Where you'd be proud to be included. And then because I came across this particular volume, I realized that I can read those articles and then I can respond to them in my work. And that gives the editorial board some play between one thing they did and another thing they did, which is very good for everyone concerned. The overall question I was asking myself critically was, what journal would take my work higher and why? And there were some different answers. This took a lot of time, and I consider that a rabbit hole, where you go in thinking one thing is going on, and then you have different ideas, and it just takes a long time. But interesting thoughts were those rabbit holes. Thoughts about the state of the field of education, thoughts about the state of what I'm doing as part of that, in your case, what your career wants to go. So when you look at a journal from this other position of where do I want to get published, you're doing it from a personal place of, will publishing in this journal do well by me? And then that'll help you plot your course of what's next. Can that publication help? It required of me, so that it didn't just take forever, that I had decent folders. So some of the things I was reading added to my lit, so I had to take them into my conceptual literature folders, and I had to put November in front of them so that I could go back to those folders when I was working with the lit and find them. These are, when you have 125 PDFs open, things become difficult. I also made a folder that was called Articles in Journals I Was Considering. And then that's a place I can go when I'm actually writing to reference to myself what their model of publication is. And then you go through them at the end and you come back and you try to dump out the ones that aren't the ones that you need. So that leads me to the fact that it's all about argument and about voice. So voice is what I want to say to the world of education and where my work is best suited so that other people can find it, yes, so that it has some kind of status perhaps, and so that it advances who I am as well as the work that I do. And the who I am part comes from something that came up with one of the things I found. So I opened all the test PDFs, I printed the first page, and then I sorted them into the journals they had come from. So now I'm trying to critically evaluate which journals I want to write to, and I made notes. And these are the notes there. And the hybrid pedagogy journal was the one that, it's not exactly a journal, it's an online place where journal-like essays get. Don't know if it's peer-reviewed, didn't get that far into it, but what they write about is really nice. It's about how the thoughts behind education need to change in order to embrace global technological thinking, in order for our future universities to be better for our future students than perhaps our current universities are for current students. And I took a whole piece out of one of their editorials about student center might be the most misused because it's lipstick on a pig, she said. So I want to write for them because I want my thoughts that are politically oriented to be out there in the world too. That's a very different article than if I'm writing for the internet and higher education or for the European Journal for Open and Distant E-Learning. Those journals would be a research. Here's the research I did. Here's what I learned. And much more matter of fact. So I can do them both with with what I've got to work with. And there were some others. There was also an Australian journal. That's the one that had the whole volume that I liked that I can respond to. So what came out of this was that I have 3 arguments. A critical pedagogical argument for technology as a force, and that can be used for the hybrid pedagogy. Empirical mixed method study, which can be used for a number of places, and I just have to decide which one and whether or not it's for open education will be part of that decision, as will whether or not it's an international journal, because I do want to take this work globally. And then a response to a special education edition on partnership that I saw, the Australian journal. I can respond to the things that they wrote about, referring to them as I write about the boot camps. And so I possibly have 3 articles for 3 different things, quite different, that will come out of this research. And so it took longer than I expected. It took me to places I didn't expect it to go, but it also had perhaps bigger legs than I would have had otherwise. So there's some questions in WooClap, but before I get there, I just want to say that we're coming to the end of one season and starting another. So the plan ahead, if you missed it, Monday, 7 p.m., there was something on mixed method social science research. If it's of interest, you can still go back and get it. And I will be doing my last webinar for this year will be about academic writing. I will go through student questions and group them and then comment on how they go together. and about the questions we all have about academic writing from time to time. Dr. Maria is talking about how our thoughts play into our research, and these 15-minute research boosts will continue. The post data and pre-proposal groups will not continue because they are being replaced by Tuesdays, a Zoom meeting for a group of people who would want to talk about what's next, using each other as uh, boards to play off of, to get ideas from, to work a process so that we get ahead of ourselves rather than behind on some of our dreams. Not what we're doing now, but what we want to do in the future and how do we get there. And then a synchronous writing hour on Wednesdays. We're come prepared to write, come into the Zoom meeting, and write. At the end of the hour, I'll say, okay, that's it. How did you do? And people can share if they want to about what's going on. And we come back the next week and we do it again. But we have one place in 1 hour every week where, and then having that will require us to get prepared for it and we'll get more done. That's our hope anyway. So both will start the second week in December and run through January.